Hey there, how's it going? This is Terrence and Jill, the God-Ordained Union. We've been married for almost 3 years now. And our mission on this channel is to help increase kingdom marriages.
Yep. So if you clicked on this channel, welcome. If this is your first time, again, we're Terrence and Jill. You're probably, the title probably caught you. But if you're returning, I'm sure the title caught you as well. But on this channel, it's all about singles. We were once there. We know how you feel. You're probably feeling like, where's my person? Lord, do you hear me? You're probably feeling like God has not heard you. I'm sure you're probably sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm sure you probably cried some nights. You had some long nights, and so we've been there. Uh, I was in my late 40s when I came across Terrence, and I was also the one in my family. In my generation, I was the one in my family who had not been married and who had not had any children. And the way our family is set up, in every generation, there is always one woman that was single without children. And it was just a pattern over like many generations. And I just assumed that I was going to be that person, that woman, even though I was longing for marriage, but God said not so. I put my petitions out there, and God, God made me the pattern, the generational pattern breaker. I was a breaker, and so to God be the glory. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave comments, share our videos,
Hit your notifications.
put your notifications on, because we go live.
We go live every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yes. So a couple of days ago, we did a video about how things happen suddenly, how your mate is going to happen suddenly. And we shared our experience. Let me just say, every love story, is different. So you can't go on ours. We can give you some things that happened and some things that we did. But just be reminded that every love story is different. The power of love is so detailed that our mind can't even comprehend it. But we were talking about how our relationship was in 5 phases. And the first phase was when the Lord showed me who Terrence was. The second phase is when Terrence slipped in my DM. The third phase is when we met face to face. The fourth phase is when we got engaged. And then the fifth phase is when we're, of course, when we're married. Now, so someone left a comment on that video and said, can Terrence talk about what made him not interested and then made him interested? So we're going to talk about the first phase, and how that was suddenly, and how that transitioned into the second phase. So on our playlist, we have there's a playlist called, on the playlist tab, there's a playlist called Our Love Story. And the first 5 videos that we did talking about our love story when we first started this channel, they're on there. But we're going to give you a recap of what happened. We're going to give you a little snapshot of what happened in phase 1, and then how we had, we jokingly say Terrence wasn't interested. So phase 1. So I had come to the point, like many of you all are right now, where I was tired of waiting. I had been praying. I was falling on my face, asking God, what is wrong with me? I really want to be married. I was just really sick and tired of being married. But then I had come to the point of rest where I was like, Lord, if you don't want me to be married, I didn't know any better back then. If you don't want me to be married, just make me okay with it. I just want to just be at peace. And so I went to a place of peace. But then one day out of random, I was looking through social media, and I saw somebody posted that this particular dating site was a good dating site. So I had never heard of the dating site. It was, they had named like 3 different dating sites. I think 2 I was familiar with, but this particular one I was not familiar with. So I had been on dating sites before in the past, and I was like, been there, done that. But something said go on that dating site. So I went on that dating site. Now, all this is in phase one. I went on that dating site, and me being very, very picky. I mean, like extremely picky. I was just going through the dates. Nope, nope, nope. I had did a 30-day membership. I was like, nope, nope, pay my little $29. Nope, nope. That ain't the one. I was getting all these messages from different guys, email. I mean, the direct mail in the app. Guys were interested. I was like, nope. I did. When I say I gave no one a chance, no one a chance. And so I was just flipping through. And I was saying, nope, nope, nope. And then I came across Terrence's profile. And everything about that profile spoke to me. His picture, his words is what did it. Everything in his words, it was as if I was reading myself. And so I was like, what in the world? Like, this is crazy. Like this, something about that. I was just like drawn to it. And so I didn't, I put the little marker to say he's someone I'm interested in, but I never contacted him. And so days went by. Then I get the notification that the site matched us together, that it was a high compatibility. And so I was like, for sure, the guy's going to see us or see me, and but still no response from him. So a couple of days later, maybe a week later, my membership was about to run out, and I was like, well, okay, let me just do what many people do. I put the little whatever the little emoji just to get his attention, like send a heart or a smile or something. And he didn't respond. So the membership was about to, like, within like 2 days or so, was about to expire. And I said, I'm going to send him a message. So I sent him a message, and he did not reply. And I waited and I waited, and it was almost time for the membership to end. And I saw somebody on the app I saw something that said you could see if the person saw the message. And so I checked and noticed that he never saw anything. He never saw a message or anything. And so that made me want to extend the membership. So I said, okay, I'm going to extend the membership a couple of more months, like for 3 months. So I think it was like June when I started it. And it was like over like in, I don't know, maybe the end of July. And then I extended it some more because I know it was going into like almost into the holidays. And so it was funny because it was all kind, his profile kept coming up that we were matched. And then it was one particular guy that I liked. I was like, okay, I pretty much, I think okay. So forget about the other guy. This one could be it too, because it's something about him that is drawing me as well. When I looked at that profile, come to find out that was Terrence had another profile, was the same profile, was the same person, but with a different picture, different wording and everything. So I said, this is really strange. And then again, the app matched us again. I was like, this is very, very strange. In between that time, around that October, I had a dream, which was very deep. It was very, very deep. And so at that point, I started praying for him, because in the dream, I had dreamt that Terrence was visiting my house, and he was in my guest room, and he was in the room sleep, and in the room sleep. And I was like in my living room, and it was like he was resting, but in the bed, there was a safety pin that was open. And I was saying, I don't want the safety pin to poke him, to stick him. So I went in the room in a dream, and I closed the safety pin, and I put the covers over him to cover him. And I left out the room. I closed the door. But when I woke up, the Lord said, start praying for this guy, because something, I don't know what's going on. I didn't know what was going on, but the Lord said, just start praying for this guy. So I started praying. And so I never had heard anything back. At this time, the second part of the membership was about to expire. So it was almost like maybe November, maybe October, November. And so I let it expire. I was like, okay, well, he's clearly not on the app. He does not see any of my messages. He's not responding. He's not replying to the app saying that we're compatible. I was like, it's just not, it's just not a, it's not going to happen. So I was okay with it. But after the app ended, it was like he was really strong in my spirit. This guy, this guy, this guy. So unlike other people who are on apps like that, including myself, Terrence used his first and last name as his profile name. I didn't. But he, being honest Abe, he used just being very who he is, very, it is what you see is what you get. He used his very first name and last name as his profile picture. So when he kept being in my spirit, one of my girlfriends who I did tell, was just on told my best friend, and she was like, I think you should contact him. I think you should, because I went on social media on Facebook and I ended up finding him, and same profile picture and everything. So of course I looked all through his everything, and everything on his Facebook was like, oh my God. I feel like I'm looking at myself, everything about this guy. Like he lives, 2 hours from me. He's like, oh my God. Like, I feel like when I say the Lord said that that's the one, like everything about this man was telling me in my spirit, he's the one. And so my best friend was like, I think you should DM him. I think you should reach out to him. I was like, nope, I'm not going to do it. That's not my personality. I don't do stuff like that. It was a stretch for me to even go on the app and reach out to him, because most of the times over the years when I would be on those dating apps, the strategy was to let them contact me. And so, but this time I stepped outside of my box, and I went and contacted him. And so when I didn't get a response, I was like, I'm definitely, so I was like, nope, I'm on his Facebook page. We're not Facebook friends, but I'm going to just going to admire him from afar and continue to pray for him. One night, it was like it was right after Christmas. So maybe like December 26th, maybe. Something said, DM that guy, DM him. So everything in me, when I say pride, everything in me had to coax myself to do it. So I wrote a DM in Facebook. I said, hey there. I said, you don't know me, and I usually don't do this, but I came across your profile on such and such dating app, and the app keeps putting us together. I said, if you are in a relationship, please disregard, don't respond. I understand. I said, but if you are not in a relationship, I'd love to, have a conversation to see if we, are compatible. And so a couple of days went by, and I'll never forget, one Saturday morning, I woke up and I had a notification that he had responded. And so, you remember what you said?
Yeah.
So you responded.
I said that I believe someone that I said that you deserve a conversation.
Yes, you said what you was like, wow, okay, well, you're going through this, the least I can do is have a conversation with you. So I said, being myself, I said, okay. I said, well, I have family, because my family is coming in town to bring in the new year with me. I said, well, I have family coming in town. I said, but maybe in a couple of days we can, exchange numbers. I'll reach back out to you. We can exchange numbers and, just have a conversation. And you responded, okay. So a couple of days went by, and I reached out. I said, hey there. I said, hey there. I just want to let you know that my family is gone. So whenever you want to have a conversation, here's my number. And he said nothing. He didn't respond, nothing. So, but let me tell you what happened. So when I initially DM'd him in Facebook, and when he responded, after he responded, I got the notification from Facebook that Terrence had requested me as a friend. on Facebook. So I accepted his friend request. So when he did not respond, when I DM'd him the second time and he did not respond, I was like, okay, well, it's all good. It's all good. He requested me as a friend, so clearly he must be busy. It's okay. I'm going to continue to pray for this guy. I would even like to be friends. Like, even being friends with this guy is a blessing. I'm going to still pray for him. But I was like really disappointed. I was like, well, the least he could do was respond to the DM, if so I took that as him not being interested. But because he had requested me as a friend on Facebook, I said, well, maybe he is interested. So that was like in January. And so January, like, from then on, I was, when I say I knew that that God had sent him to me, that he was the one. But I also knew from the dream that he may have been dealing with something. So that made me pray for him. So I continued to pray for him. And so that, from January moving on all the way to November, it was crickets. I think one time he posted on Facebook, Happy Mother's Day to his sisters and to all the mothers out there. He had did like a general Happy Mother's Day post, but it was nothing else. I think one time you put a post up, redefining myself and rebuilding or something, post like that, which really made me intrigued. But I was like, okay, then he's interested, I think, because he requested me as a friend, but maybe he's not interested. But something happened in August that kind of flipped the script. I was having a conversation with one of my girlfriends, and she was going through a breakup, and she was going through a situation where the woman that her ex had an affair with had reached out to her on Facebook. And so because the woman had reached out to her on Facebook, it made it look like it sent the notification to the woman, that my friend had requested her as a friend on Facebook. So my friend was trying to explain to me that's what Facebook does. So what it did to me, it made me know that Terrence didn't really request me as a friend. It was automatic. So at that point, I was crushed. This guy is not interested. He is not interested because Facebook did it and he never responded. But something said, don't delete him. The old Jill would have deleted him. Something said, don't delete him. And so I continued to pray. That whole 11 months was, when I say the humanness in me was out of whack a little bit. But my spirit man was getting stronger and stronger, and I was going into more peace after peace after peace after peace. And I kept getting confirmation after confirmation after confirmation after confirmation that he was the one. Even though there was no communication, he was clearly, from logic, from the naked eye, not interested. He was just, it just was an impossible situation. It was just like, he's just not into you. And so one day, that October, so he hadn't responded since that January. That October, I got a prophecy from a social media associate, and this person didn't know me. I was social media friends with his wife, and his wife said her husband wanted to speak with me, that he had a word from the Lord. And so I was like, okay. So they both called me and they gave me a word, and they said that they basically prophesied that my husband was about to come, that my husband was getting ready to come. And so I was like, I had heard many prophecies before, and I was like, okay, it's going to be what it's going to be. But I felt in my spirit that it was this guy, Terrence. And so a month later, November 12th, I was at work and I saw the notification that I had a DM. Now, I've always got DMs on my Facebook all the time because all my family's on. We got groups and all that crazy stuff on Facebook. But when I saw the little red number that I had one notification, I knew that was Terrence. So before I opened up the DM, I went to the bathroom because I was at work and I prayed and I said, Lord, tell me how to respond to this man. I came back to my office. I opened up my DM and Terrence had sent me a picture of a white rose and said, basically apologizing for not responding or whatever.
I remember that.
You do?
I do.
So
I took everything in me to send that because I was expecting a cussing out once you opened it up.
Wow. So so that when I initially reached out to you, because I think a lot of people, I think what happens is that, for one, let me just tell y'all, God works in the algorithm. We say this all the time, even in our comments, God works in the algorithm. But I think for a lot of times, and it could have been me as well, we assume things that are not so. And we make decisions based on a half truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was happening in that first phase? Like God has showed me, and it was like a year and a half from the time I saw you on the dating app to the time you reached out into my DM.
Okay. First, I would say, in my life, before I even get started, let me say this. Whenever you are trying to do anything with another person, especially in a relationship, you have to remember that you only have your half of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Because when God met you where you were to start working on you in regards to a relationship, he's working with you. You already on a schedule. You already have things going on. So he has to start, his providence and working in your life is basically changing your schedule and your routine slowly but surely to where he connects you to the other person.
Okay.
So in this case, after you and I talked about it several times, what I can tell you is he started with you first. Mm-hmm. My schedule was still what it was. And at that time, I was at a point where I had been on social media a lot before that year. And it got so much to where I could see when I run into family and friends, oh, here comes Terrence. He's doing this. He's doing that. He's going to sell us something. Because I was in multi-level marketing companies and all this stuff. So what I did was I took a break from social media. And I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some distance in between me and that former company. And I'm going to redefine who I am, reset myself up, become the person that I want to be, and then I'm going to move forward. So when people see me, they're not running. Mm-hmm. They're not thinking I'm trying to sell them stuff. So when you sent that first message, it was at the point where I wasn't even on social media except for selling cars because I was a car salesman at that time in the mountains. Mm-hmm. And so
Asheville.
So I was doing videos. I had started doing videos just for selling cars, but I wasn't on my personal page saying I wanted to see what's going on. Every now and maybe once or twice a quarter, I get on and I just stroll, see if anybody left me messages and stuff, especially holidays, because a lot of my family birthdays is around holidays. But, I wasn't on there that much. So when I was missing you or wasn't responding to you, it wasn't that I even saw your message. It was just at a time when I wasn't even on social media, mm-hmm. and I didn't even see it. Mm-hmm. But when God started working on me, it started making your photo different because again, he's using my habits. He's using what he knows about me, what I'm used to, how I communicate. So now all of a sudden I'm getting on and I'm strolling. And that's why I tell the story where everything looks like it was in black and white. Then all of a sudden your picture shows up in color. And it makes me say, who is this woman? Okay, well, where'd she come from? So the first couple times, and when I say couple, the first couple times could have been within a 6-month period where I might have saw your picture just once or twice, or maybe even 3 times of me strolling. Okay, it could have been somewhere around the 4th time before I actually said, who is she? How did she even? She's in my friends group. I don't remember sending her friend request. Let me find. So now I'm clicking on your picture, going to your profile, reading, going through all your pictures, trying to figure out where you from, where you live, and what state you're from. You know, how do I know you? Do we have any of the same friends? So I can kind of figure out.
Which was crazy because
where
we ended up having like tons of mutual friends because we were both in the same company. Didn't know each other.
So it's now I'm thinking, okay, maybe we met at one of these regional events or something. That's what I'm doing. I'm going through. But I say that to say, the more I saw your picture, the more interesting it became. And now, granted, I got a relationship with God, and I had a relationship back then. And at the time, I'm starting to speak to Him more, and start asking Him for direction. Lord, look. Because I'm doing the same thing you did. Lord, look, if you don't have anybody for me, it's just going to be me and you. Because I'm older than you, so I'm already at that point turning 50. So it's like, if it's just going to be me and you, I'll be cool with it. It's like, if that's what you really want, if that's what you have for me, then it'll just be me and you. And those are the types of conversations I'm having. But as I'm having these conversations, the more He's pointing me to your picture. And what happened is, when I sent you that rose, again, I hadn't been online for a long time. And I'm on there, I'm sitting there, and I'm just strolling, and I see your picture. And I'm like, wait a minute. Now I'm going in there looking. It's like, didn't we say something to each other? And I'm looking at the messages, and now I realize I didn't respond to you in all these months. And I'm like, oh, you got me. Oh, she cussed me out. Oh, this ain't good. But something inside me said, but you can't let this go. Look, if she gonna cuss you out, take the cussing out. But you got to reach out to her. You got to do something. And that's when I sent you the rose. And like I said, I was sitting there expecting to get a message and look on there, and you just saying,
how dare you?
How dare you call me after all this time, or reach out to me after all this time? And so I was expecting that. But that ain't what happened.
You know what I said? I replied. I said, hey, you. I said, you sure you reaching out to the right person?
You sure you're reaching out to the right person?
And you said, yes, I am. And we rolled in a conversation.
And from that point on,
it was on. And I remember that day, it was like around 1 o'clock. It was a rainy Tuesday. It was like around 1 o'clock. And we went back and forth on DM until I got off. And I purposely ended the conversation. And then it was sporadically that we would, DM. And then on the night of I had told Terrence, I had revealed to him that I had been praying for him. I was like, I had been praying for you. I was like, I don't know why. The Lord had me really pray for you. So I've been praying for you. And so the night of, so that was like one of the conversations like between, those first couple of weeks, general conversations we were having. And so that Thanksgiving, I never forget this. I was at my sister's house for Thanksgiving, the whole family, and I got a DM from Terrence, and he basically said he would like us to explore like how a relationship would look. He said, but I want to take it very, very slow. And when I opened up y'all can imagine, on Thanksgiving, I'm always the one not having nobody at Thanksgiving but me. I opened up that, when I say God's providence is so awesome, I opened up that DM and I saw what he said, and I was floored on Thanksgiving. When I say the biggest smile on my face, I went in the bathroom, I responded, I said, slow is perfect. And the very next night, the day after Thanksgiving, we had our very first telephone conversation. And so we say all this to say, so that was kind of in that was phase one. But then of course, well, we ain't gonna talk about tonight, but there's a whole phase two where we just went DMing and talking on the phone for almost a whole year. But I want to say to you all is that don't lean on your own understanding. Yeah. It might look like the person is not interested. At the end of the day, the person just really does not know you at the end of the day. And so you got to be very careful of making decisions, hasty decisions, because had it probably been a year prior where I was mentally and emotionally in my life, if it was a year prior, I probably would have said, the heck with this dude, deuces. And would have blocked him on Facebook. Or if he would have reached out to me, I would have probably said, how dare you? When I say the Lord had been dealing with me those 11 months, and even prior to that, like really preparing me, preparing my attitude, preparing my response, preparing just my disposition, because I could be mean. Everybody know me as Mean Jill. So and so God really softened me, softened my heart. And it took a lot of prayer and fasting. And I believe we say this all the time, love is patient. Patience is that first characteristic that God is going to perfect in you. And so those, from that January to that November, God was developing patience in me. At the same time, I was praying and fasting a lot. And I did not want to miss what God had for me. And so that's
and to make sure that I answer the woman's question, how did I go from not being interested to being interested? It's called God's timing.
Ooh. Woo.
See, God worked on each of us individually in our own situations until he got us to where he can say, now I need to connect them so I can start making their timing the same timing. But in the beginning, it was two different timings. We were both in two different worlds, doing two different sets of things, had our own schedules, our own routines, our own everything. So I say that to say, there was never a time when I wasn't interested. There was a time where I didn't know her.
Unaware.
I was unaware that she even existed. So even when you meet somebody, think about when you meet somebody brand new for the first time and you say, oh, hey, how you doing? You shake their hand if it's in person, and then you go on your own way. Don't think nothing else about that person. You just go your own way. It might be the 4th, 5th, 6th. It might be the 10th time you see that person before God shows you something about them that says, wow.
And that's what
and so that's what happened with us. And the thing about us being long distance, all of that just played into it. But the great thing about how he got us from where we were is the fact that we both were willing to listen to God, follow his lead. And we didn't say expectations wasn't being met because we didn't have any expectations.
No expectations.
I didn't, when I reached out to her, I was afraid that she was going to say something because I knew when I read that I didn't respond at such a time. It's like, so God is already preparing me to say, look, if she says something rude, you deserve it because it's been a long time. But you need to reach out to her anyway.
Yeah,
she's that important. You need to reach out to her. And so I was going to take those lumps. I was going to take that hit upside the head to make sure that I took a chance, because I can't apologize if I don't reach out to her.
And even by this time, of course, I'm knocking on 50 door. And even when Terrence said, after we, connected and started talking, Terrence said, we're going to take this slow. I need to take this slow. My time clock could have responded. Ain't nobody got time for this. Like anybody, like I'm 50 already. Like I ain't nobody. But that was not my response. That was just not my response. And something. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say was that that's why it's so vital that you stay in prayer. Yes. Because what's happening is that a lot of you all, that person is right there. It could be at church, it could be at work, it could be in your neighborhood. You see them, but you don't see them. Yeah. You see them, but you don't see them through spiritual eyes, through God's. And so that's what happened in the beginning. Terrence did not see me as he did not see me until God opened up his spiritual eyes. And so that's how it is in the Bible. When Adam woke up, he said, she's bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. And so he was made aware that is who she is. And so so don't make decisions based off
with Ruth.
Yeah.
Boaz said, who is that?
Who is that?
Yeah.
The Lord put Ruth in his field. The Lord put Jill in Terrence's Facebook friends. And then Terrence said, who is that? And that's what happens in the spirit realm. That's what happens. And that's how that guy says, the man says, oh my God, that's the one. And so, but it took me, I had to sit back and wait. You don't have a choice to wait. You don't have to. God gives us free will. But for me, I knew God was doing something. I knew God said, that's it. So I was willing to stand still and firm.
And if you're going to say that you're going to put this in God's hands,
put it in his hands.
Then put it in his hands.
Put it in his hands.
Don't tell him how the person needs to look,
what he needs to
work at, what type
how
of car
you need to maneuver it,
where they got to live at. Don't tell them what time it's got to be. Let God be God.
Be God.
And I promise you that not only will you be excited about the end result, so will the person that he puts you with.
Yes.
And it's going to be a blessing to both of you.
What we say the other day on a video, come into agreement that God is God, that God is love, and that God is the word. And you speak the word over your life every single day.
And the one thing that I believe helped us in the conversation portion is that when she said slow is perfect, it took all the pressure off of us coming up with these lists that you hear people saying, oh, you got to ask them 50 questions or 20 questions and you got to find out what his 5-year plan is. We didn't have to worry about none of that. All we did was talk.
What's your hobbies? What you like to do? I learned in the first conversation, our first phone call conversation, that Terrence was a fierce spades player, that he loved playing chess. All of that's in the first conversation. Hobbies. What's on your bucket list? Where have you tried? Like, what do you like to do? What do you like to do for fun?
We learned that both of our families look at us two as being picky.
Yes. So that first conversation was fun. It was light. It was, and then really that's how our conversations were. Like no expectations, or what, like you said, what's your 5-year plan, and what's this, and what, do you want children? Nah, it was at the point where all the guards were just let down.
You allow God to be God and allow things to take place organically in the way He has orchestrated it to be. When you get to, will you marry me? It's going to be a shock.
It's going to be a shock. And that's what, like, one of your suddenlies. It's going to be like,
what? I didn't even know he liked me like that.
What?
And now he's presenting me with the ring. What in the world just happened?
And don't rob yourself of that moment. So, yes. All right. So that's it. Because this video is 40 minutes. So we got to wrap it up.
So I hope I answered your question.
Yes, we hope we answered it. Please put your comments down below. Let us know.
Any other videos you guys would like to hear from us?
Let us know.
We read every comment. So we will get to you.
Yes, we will. And I'll put the video up here of when we told our story of how we met. All right. So you all be blessed, and I will see you on the next video.
Yes.
Deuces.